Adolf Hitler was born on April 20th, 1889. His birthplace was a small town in Austria. The town was called Braunau am Inn. It sat right on the border with Germany. His father, Alois Hitler, was a customs official. He was a stern and often difficult man. Young Adolf had a strained relationship with him. He was much closer to his mother, Clara Polzel. She was a quiet and caring woman. This early family life was unremarkable on the surface, yet it shaped the boy who would later change the world in terrible ways. His childhood was not marked by extreme poverty, but it was far from privileged. As a young boy, Hitler did reasonably well in school. He showed some artistic talent. He dreamed of becoming a great artist. This dream was a source of conflict with his father. His father wanted him to follow a practical career path. He wanted him to become a civil servant, just like him. Adolf resisted this pressure strongly. The death of his father in 1903 gave him more freedom. He continued to pursue his artistic ambitions with little success. His school performance declined sharply. He left formal schooling without a diploma. This failure was a significant blow to his pride and his future prospects. In 1907, Hitler moved to Vienna. This was the grand capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He hoped to attend the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts. He applied to the academy with great confidence. The rejection was a severe shock to him. He was told his drawings lacked talent for painting. He was rejected again the following year. These failures left him adrift in the large city. Without a clear path, he began to wander. He lived a bohemian and aimless existence. This period was critical in forming his worldview. He was alone, poor and resentful. Vienna was a city of great contrasts. It was a center of culture and intellect. It was also a place of deep social and political tensions. Hitler absorbed the city's potent atmosphere. He read widely but without discipline. He was drawn to pan-German nationalism. He also became exposed to virulent anti-Semitism. These ideas were common in the political pamphlets and newspapers he consumed. He began to blame Jews for his own personal failures. He also blamed them for Austria's problems. This time in Vienna planted the seeds of the hateful ideology he would later unleash upon the world. The outbreak of the First World War in 1914 gave Hitler a purpose. He eagerly volunteered for the Bavarian army. He served as a dispatch runner on the Western Front. He was a brave soldier. He was decorated for his courage, receiving the Iron Cross. The war was the first time he felt a true sense of belonging. He found camaraderie and a clear mission. The German surrender in 1918 was a profound shock to him. He was in a hospital, temporarily blinded by a gas attack, when he heard the news. He refused to believe Germany had been defeated on the battlefield. After the war, Germany was in turmoil. The Weimar Republic was established. It was a fragile democracy. It faced economic chaos, political instability, and national humiliation. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh terms on Germany. Hitler returned to Munich. He remained in the army for a short time. He was assigned to work as an intelligence agent. His job was to monitor small political groups. In 1919, he was sent to investigate a tiny group. It was called the German Workers' Party. Hitler was drawn to its nationalist and anti-Semitic message. He decided to join the party. Hitler quickly discovered his talent for public speaking. He had a powerful and mesmerizing voice. He could hold an audience's attention for hours. He spoke with passion and conviction. He raged against the Treaty of Versailles. He blamed Jews and communists for Germany's problems. He promised to restore Germany's greatness. His fiery speeches attracted many followers. He soon became the leader of the party. He renamed it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party for short. He designed its infamous swastika symbol. The party began to grow in size and influence. In November 1923, Hitler attempted to seize power. This event is known as the Beer Hall Putsch. He and his followers tried to start a revolution in Munich. The attempt failed miserably. The police quickly crushed the uprising. Hitler was arrested and put on trial for treason. He used the trial as a stage. He delivered long, defiant speeches. He gained national attention. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but served only 9 months. While in prison, he wrote his book, Mein Kampf, or My Struggle. It outlined his racist ideology and his plans for Germany's future. His time in prison was a turning point. He decided to gain power legally through elections. The core of Hitler's ideology was based on a twisted view of race. He believed in the concept of an Aryan master race. He thought the German people were the purest members of this race. He saw them as superior to all other peoples. This idea was not new, but Hitler made it central to his politics. He believed history was a constant struggle between races. He felt the Aryan race was destined to rule the world. All other races were considered inferior. This racial hierarchy was the foundation of his entire worldview. It justified his later actions of persecution and conquest. Another key component of his ideology was anti-Semitism. Hitler's hatred of Jewish people was obsessive and extreme. He blamed them for everything he saw as wrong with the world. He accused them of being behind communism and international finance. He claimed they were a threat to the purity of the Aryan race. In Mein Kampf, he described a global Jewish conspiracy. He argued that Germany could only be strong if it was cleansed of Jewish influence. This deep-seated hatred would eventually lead to the Holocaust. It was a systematic plan to murder all of Europe's Jews. It was the most horrific outcome of his ideology. Hitler also promoted the idea of Lebensraum, or living space. He believed that the German people needed more land. They needed territory to expand and thrive. This land, he argued, was in Eastern Europe. It belonged to the Slavic peoples of Poland and the Soviet Union. He considered these people to be racially inferior. He saw them as Untermenschen, or subhumans. His plan was to conquer their lands. He would then resettle the area with German colonists. This aggressive foreign policy was a direct path to war. It made conflict with Germany's neighbors inevitable. Finally, Hitler's ideology demanded absolute obedience to a single leader. This was known as the Führerprinzip, or leader principle. He believed that democracy was weak and inefficient. He argued that a nation needed a single, all-powerful leader. This leader would embody the will of the people. His decisions would be final and unquestionable. Hitler saw himself as this destined leader, the Führer. He demanded total loyalty from his followers and eventually from the entire nation. This principle destroyed all forms of opposition. It turned Germany into a totalitarian dictatorship with him at its center. After his release from prison, Hitler rebuilt the Nazi Party. He focused on winning power through the political system. The Great Depression of 1929 created a perfect opportunity. Millions of Germans lost their jobs, the economy collapsed, and the government seemed helpless. People became desperate and angry. They were looking for a strong leader with simple solutions. Hitler offered them exactly that. He promised to restore order, create jobs, and make Germany proud again. His powerful speeches resonated with a frightened and disillusioned population. The Nazi Party's support grew dramatically. In the elections of the early 1930s, the Nazis became a major political force. They won a large number of seats in the German parliament, the Reichstag. By 1932, they were the largest party. However, they did not have a majority. The established political leaders underestimated Hitler. They thought they could control him. In January 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg made a fateful decision. He appointed Adolf Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. The conservative elites believed they could use him for their own purposes. They were tragically mistaken. Hitler had no intention of sharing power. Once in power, Hitler moved quickly to dismantle democracy. A mysterious fire destroyed the Reichstag building in February 1933. Hitler blamed the communists for the fire. He used it as an excuse to pass an emergency decree. The decree suspended basic civil liberties. It allowed the government to arrest political opponents without cause. In March, he pushed the Enabling Act through Parliament. This law gave Hitler the power to make laws without the Reichstag's approval. It effectively made him a dictator. Germany's democracy was dead. The Third Reich had begun. Hitler then worked to eliminate all remaining opposition. He banned all other political parties. He took control of the press and radio. He created a secret police force, the Gestapo, to hunt down dissenters. He established the first concentration camps for his political enemies. In June 1934, he purged his own party. This event was called the Night of the Long Knives. He had hundreds of potential rivals within the Nazi movement murdered. When President Hindenburg died in August 1934, Hitler combined the offices of Chancellor and President. He declared himself Führer and Reich Chancellor. His control over Germany was now absolute. With total control at home, Hitler turned his attention to foreign policy. His main goal was to overturn the Treaty of Versailles. He also wanted to expand German territory. In 1935, he openly announced that Germany was rearming its military. This was a direct violation of the treaty. Britain and France protested but did little else. They were focused on their own economic problems. They were also haunted by the memory of the First World War. They wanted to avoid another conflict at all costs. This policy of giving in to Hitler's demands became known as appeasement. In March 1936, Hitler took his next gamble. He ordered German troops to march into the Rhineland. This was another clear violation of the treaty. The Rhineland was a demilitarized zone bordering France. His own generals were nervous. They feared a strong military response from France, but France did not act. Britain urged caution. Hitler's gamble paid off. His prestige in Germany soared. He became convinced that the Western democracies were weak. He believed they would not stand up to him. He was emboldened to pursue more aggressive actions. Hitler's ambitions grew larger. He wanted to unite all German-speaking peoples into one great Reich. In March 1938, he annexed his home country of Austria. This union, known as the Anschluss, was popular with many Austrians. Once again, Britain and France did nothing. Next, Hitler demanded the Sudetenland. This was a region of Czechoslovakia with a large German-speaking population. Czechoslovakia was prepared to fight. But Britain and France intervened. They met with Hitler in Munich in September 1938. They agreed to his demands to avoid war. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain returned home claiming he had secured peace for our time. The Munich Agreement was the high point of appeasement. It was also a total failure. Hitler had no intention of stopping. In March 1939, he broke his promise. He invaded and took over the rest of Czechoslovakia. This action finally showed Britain and France that he could not be trusted. They realized that his goal was not just to unite Germans, but to dominate Europe. They promised to defend Poland, which was clearly Hitler's next target. Hitler, however, was not deterred. In August 1939, he signed a non-aggression pact with his ideological enemy, the Soviet Union. This shocking agreement secretly planned to divide Poland between them. The path to war was now clear. On September 1st, 1939, German forces invaded Poland. Hitler had finally started his war. Britain and France issued an ultimatum. They demanded that Germany withdraw its troops. Hitler ignored them. 2 days later, on September 3rd, Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Second World War had begun. The German army used a new tactic called Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. It involved fast-moving tanks and aircraft. Poland was defeated in a matter of weeks. The war then entered a quiet phase, but in the spring of 1940, Hitler launched a massive offensive. His armies quickly conquered Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium and France. By the summer of 1940, Hitler was the master of Western Europe. Only Britain remained defiant. Hitler planned an invasion of Britain, but first, he needed to control the skies. The Battle of Britain was a major air campaign. The German Luftwaffe fought against the British Royal Air Force. The RAF bravely held on, and Hitler was forced to postpone the invasion. Frustrated, he made a fateful decision. In June 1941, he broke his pact with Stalin. He launched a surprise invasion of the Soviet Union. This opened a vast new front in the east. It would ultimately prove to be his undoing. The war became a global conflict. For a time, German armies advanced deep into Soviet territory, but the harsh Russian winter and stiff resistance halted their progress. In December 1941, Japan, Germany's ally, attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. This brought the United States into the war. Hitler foolishly declared war on America. Germany was now fighting a coalition of great powers: the Soviet Union, the British Empire, and the United States. The tide began to turn. The Battle of Stalingrad in 1942-43 was a catastrophic defeat for Germany. From then on, the German army was mostly on the defensive. By 1945, Germany was being crushed from all sides. The Allies advanced from the west. After the D-Day landings in Normandy, the Soviet army advanced from the East German cities were being reduced to rubble by bombing raids. Hitler retreated to his underground bunker in Berlin. He was delusional and isolated. He continued to issue impossible orders to non-existent armies. As Soviet troops closed in on the capital, he finally accepted defeat. On April 29th, he married his longtime companion Eva Braun. The next day, on April 30th, 1945, they committed suicide together. His 1,000-year Reich had lasted only 12 years. A week later, Germany surrendered unconditionally.